Welcome everyone, and welcome back to CloudFlex on Air, our webinar today. I'm Jonas, and with me today I have Jesse Madison, co-founder of CloudFlex. Yeah, why don't you give yourself a quick intro, Jesse?
Will do. Thanks, Jonas. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you. We've had a better than expected start to this software, this company, and a lot of you here are the reason why. So I'll start by saying that. For those who don't know me, my name is Jesse Madison. I'm the owner of Madison Holding Group. We do a lot of things here. It's labor, fiber, and cloud, to sum it up very quickly. Uh, we got into the cloud like most of you, like a lot of people in 2020, and through connections like Mike Lang, Tucker Dragu, and then Jonas, we formed a group here that not only was having a lot of success putting shows together, but was starting to solve some problems. And we saw a solution coming together, which is really what you see here today, which is CloudFlex, trying to solve some things that didn't exist out there. My background, like probably a lot of you, is traditional broadcast. I came from AV corporate sports, did everything from flying cameras to tech managing, broadcast, video engineering, stuff like that. All those roads led us to here, and feel pretty fortunate to have met people like Jonas, Tucker, Mike Lang, and everybody, and very happy to be here showing off CloudFlex to you all today.
And I think that really shows like the whole history of CloudFlex. We started when we all were doing cloud productions and got thrown into, hey, a lot of it started during COVID. Hey, let's do this, and suddenly it isn't just like a small webinar. Suddenly it's big events. It's every day, multiple shows. How do you scale that? And a lot of the pain points that we discovered during that time and the solutions we built during that time, we now put together into CloudFlex to have one solution that makes it easy, but also that allows you to continue to work with the operators you already know. Like, you shouldn't need a cloud vmix TD if they're cutting vmix. It should be a vmix TD, which that's the whole idea behind CloudFlex. And if you're new or if you haven't been following, I will start by giving a quick demo and overview of CloudFlex, highlight a couple of the new features that we've been working on and releasing over the last year. So this is our instance manager. Most of the time when you start coming into the environment, you would actually look at the home view. This still looks very familiar. We have studios, which are our logical groups to group your resources together. And then I can say, hey, I want to look at this editing room, and now I'm here. I can look at all my different studios. The keen eye of you might already spot that we have a bunch more systems and softwares that you probably have heard from in this list that we'll continue to talk through and announce through this webinar. But the main thing is you want the vmix. It's a single button click. Now it connects in a new tab. And then this is just vmix on a normal Windows system. Same thing with things like, hey, I want to use Companion. You can use Companion in here as well. Now you have a fresh Companion here. We have Elias's Tractors Multiview and a bunch more that we'll show later. And to get different signals up to the cloud so you can do your production with it, we heavily focus on doing production and not so much of like just moving feeds around. So for moving those feeds around, this is where we have the flow manager. For example, if I go over to another environment, you can see we have some stats in here now for SRT in and outputs. We now have SRT outputs, WebRTC outputs in form of web outputs. So here I have a web output. I can copy that as a new feed. I'll show you feeds in a second. You do NDI output that way, SRT output. For SRT, we now also support all the typical parameters that you might have. We support stream ID, passphrase, key length, all of that. That is managed through our flow engine, which you can even have multiple in an environment. Like I said, feeds is a simple way to see all the different web browser-based video sources that you can see. So for example, WebRTC feeds. We also have the option to add HLS, SLDP, or just iframes. So like if I wanted my crew to have access to the YouTube feed, I could just embed that there. And then deploy also got a lot of work done to it. You still have the same couple instances because a lot of the deployment templates that we'll be showcasing are going to be released at IVC. But we shrunk the time that it takes from click to things are ready quite significantly. In the past, with Windows instances, we were still at like 18 to 25 minutes, depending on the workload you put on those machines. We're now more at 12 to maximum 15 minutes from I want to deploy this to it's ready for you. With all the typical things, we're also one thing we're adding now more and more is that you can select specific versions. So we're hosting not only the latest version, but we're hosting specific versions that you might want to use for your workflows. That will come for all the other deployment templates as well. And then this is all great, but how do you give your team access to this? Give your team access by sending them an invite, which we don't charge you anything for the amount of users that you have. The only thing I'll say is when you approach 100 users, that's when you should give us a call so we can click that magic button to allow you to have more than 100 crew members. You send them an invite, they create a free account, and then under environments, I can say, hey, this is an operator. They get access to instances as an operator to these studios, and I can also time box it. So that way I don't need to remember that I gave them access and revoke it afterwards. Applications is where we have all the settings for the different apps you can use within CloudFlex. So for deploy manager, it's all your deployment settings. For flow manager, it's where you set up your flows, your flow managers, your flow engines. And then for instance manager, this is where you can set up your different notifications. So one of the new things, and Jesse's going to talk about then, was that you can create an alert for running 4 hours and running after time. So like, let's say I know that normally I don't work after 8 p.m. I can set an alert that if anything is still running after 8 p.m., I get an email or a Discord notification. And then one really big thing is cloud operations also goes more and more into the so-called FinOps, making sure that you know how much you're paying, where's your money going. So we have live usage reporting here, and this is accurate to the moment that you open it. So it's not 24 hours delayed or something like that. You will see directly how much are you spending on what day, what instances are costing you how much. You can also look at previous month and compare it that way so you don't get a surprise and you know how much to charge your clients for. Yeah, and charging and pricing and all that is a good point. One of the things is that we want really clear pricing. So yeah, Jesse, why don't you explain a little bit how we do pricing?
When we're building tools like this, and honestly, this goes across everything we work on. We've invented fiber optic testers. We've invented audio boxes here, other live stream tools. We've invented them because they didn't exist. If CloudFlex would have existed back in 2020, we would have been the first ones to buy it. We were looking for these solutions. They weren't out there. And when you invent this stuff, the number one word is listen. Listen to the customers, your cohorts, your coworkers, and listen for their biggest challenges. What are the reoccurring complaints? Pricing was right up there, clear and transparent pricing. Trying to get those answers out of the different vendors and tools we were looking at was really difficult. And then taking a difficult answer and then trying to give an answer to your client on how much this production is going to cost, it was spitting a lot of us out. Uh, what Jonas just showed on the screen was our answer to that, is let's make it not only simple to understand, but give them the visual. But pictures speak 1,000 words, right? If you can see up-to-date real-time pricing on what you're doing, not only is that going to make you feel better as a consumer, you're going to be able to communicate it better to your clients, your production team. Having the ability to do that, I think, gives us a humongous advantage. And one of the other things Jonas touched on earlier, a reoccurring complaint and problem that we were having ourselves was we wanted alerts for when we left instances on. If you forget to turn out the lights, the bill can rack up pretty quick, right? We weren't the only ones having that problem. I'm sure there's probably some bobbing heads on the other side of the live stream right now. The guys on the backside found out a way to give you email and Discord alerts. We want to do everything possible, to give you transparency, honesty, clear pricing so you can explain it to your clients, and then help prevent overages, help prevent those terrible situations where you leave something on. And email and Discord seem like the obvious place. So a lot of you are on Discord, and if you're not, you have email. And we're going to keep listening. I'm sure there's other things we have in the pipeline, but you know where to find us. We're all over Discord and LinkedIn and everything else. We want to listen for more ideas like that and keep iterating, keep bringing them to you. We want to be the best option out there. And I think the only way to do that is to listen to other people. So, yeah, and with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Jonas.
Yeah, and like Jesse said, our pricing is simple and transparent. So one of the things that we've done, if you go to cloudflexbroadcast.com, you can see, you can go to our calculator, and in there you can easily just say, are you bringing a managed cloud? So that's where we manage the AWS account. You don't need to worry about any of that. Or do you bring your own AWS account? And then you just say how much of what instance are you using. Like, let's say I want to use a vMix system and I want to use a Zoom room. Now I have my pricing for doing 4 events per month, 4 hours per event. But also if you go to pricing, all our pricing is here, all our hourly compute rates are here. And one really important thing is we do not charge you for the bandwidth. So there isn't like a separate price for a region. So like one customer wants you to produce on the West Coast, the other one wants you to produce on the East Coast. Same pricing for us. And there's just a base price, $10 per instance that you have sitting there for the month. And then there's a simple hourly pricing that you can use to calculate, because we don't charge you for bandwidth. We built that into our pricing system. We've run cloud productions long enough that we know what the bandwidth charges will be. So we built that right into that. One thing that also was a big item on the list of new things was I want to be able to, on the fly, add new drives. So if I go to my demo environment here and I say, hey, actually, for this Premiere instance, I need to add another 0.5 terabyte drive. I'm just going to add a 100 gigabyte. Right now I can click add drive. Now in the background it's provisioning that drive, attaching it to the instance, making sure it's ready for you. Still takes a little bit, but then it'll just be there, and now you can also manage drives yourself without needing to talk to support or anything like that. So now we have a second drive here. And one of my favorite new features is multi-environments. So if you do cloud production and you want the utmost redundancy that you can have, let's say you have, in our case, we have instances for this demo deployed in Ireland, and then also in Frankfurt, and sometimes we use London as well from a European perspective. I can combine all those environments into one instance manager. So now I see these are in Europe West, those are in Central, and that also works for Flow Manager. So if I create a flow here now, I can select the flow engine from both environments, see the flows from both environments. That way, if you have a fully redundant workflow, where you have, let's say, we often do this for master control, where you have the ingest in both regions and then you stream to the CDN endpoints in both regions. If you have that, then that's a really great use case for this. Those are two pretty new features. Multi-environments is actually live right now, but we released it just on Monday. So fresh off the press, so to speak. And fresh off the press is also a new integration that we're excited to announce. So I'm sure a lot of you saw yesterday that there's a new Zoom ISO version and there's a lot of cool features in there. And the question came up, well, this is for Mac, but what do we do in the cloud? And one of the cool things that we've been working on together with Zoom is you might have heard from Zoom ISO Cloud, which is Zoom's vision of how Zoom contribution in the cloud should work. It uses cloud native solutions like containers, and it's built to be scalable. And as a first step, I'm going to show it to you now, and we'll have more demos at IBC. We now have Zoom ISO Cloud as a deployment within CloudFlex. It's not GA yet, and will probably be there after IBC. And right now it does MXL, but when we publish it to the deployment manager, it will be able to output NDI. So now if I connect here, I can join a meeting, select the participant, and then I get the outcoming video. This is just in a web browser in the background. It runs a Linux host. And long term, the vision is that you can spin up 10 of those if you have all different breakout rooms and you need to get the videos out there. And this is a native tool built by the Zoom folks around Andy Carluccio and his client innovation team. And the only thing you need pricing-wise, which makes this really attractive, is if you have a Zoom Enhanced Media license or any Zoom Events license. You just sign in with your account, and now you can use Zoom ISO Cloud. Like I said, I'm really excited about that integration coming to CloudFlex as well. So you don't need to use Zoom Rooms or use third-party tools. You can use a first-party Zoom tool directly on CloudFlex. And as we continue with that partnership, we'll have more integrations for that and also have it scale out itself more. So at some point, if you say, hey, I want 20 outputs, it will manage that behind the scenes for you, and you don't need to have 5 different interfaces open. The other thing that I'm excited to tease is SSL's System T. So if I'm gonna jump into here real quick, this is TCA, the control interface. It also works with faders, and we'll have a lot more to talk about there at IBC. But this is a professional broadcast grade mixer that runs in the cloud. You're actually seeing I'm getting some audio in from vMix here, outputs over NDI as well, and I can just go in here, do all my routing, get my overview. It just works. And that is also coming to CloudFlex, being deployable through CloudFlex. Licensing you still get from SSL, but you can see here, you can just deploy your virtual Tempest engine, and then you have the TCA, that's the Tempest control software that I just showed you to control it, and then we'll also have support for their fader bars that you can put on your desktop. And then the thing that we put in the email and put in the title is CloudFlex Terra. And it comes from the idea that a lot of customers we're talking to say, great, cloud is awesome, but what do I do if I have all my sources already on the ground and I don't have the upload bandwidth to bring them up to the cloud, but I still want to use a software-defined workflow. I still want to use the same tools. I want to have the flexibility that CloudFlex gives you of the one day you produce 4 small shows and the next day you produce 1 big show, but bring their own hardware. And that's basically what CloudFlex Terra allows you to do. I am gonna open up my demo for that. So now I'm in a CloudFlex Terra environment. And you might say, well, this looks like just the other thing that you shows, and this is intentional. We don't want your operators or your producers think or worry about where their workloads run. That's an engineering decision. That's a engineering department decision. Hey, let's spin up this in the cloud. Let's do this on-prem. So it looks the same, has the same functions. You can take it with studios. You can have actions to join them. Those are also coming very soon. And what we're using under the hood is Proxmox. So one of the things that we looked at is we want to be able to give you a great experience with using CloudFlex Terra. And for that, the first virtualization platform we're working with is Proxmox. So I have my little Proxmox environment here. I put it below my desk because it's screaming. I can actually show you the type of node we're using for this. 1 second. So we are using Lenovo P3s, which is a pretty small node. And we can pack a Decklink card, Connect X4, a Mellanox card, and a GPU into it. And one of the great things with CloudFlex Terra is we allow you to manage those, we call it specials. So I'm going to go into CloudFlex, and if you have a Terra environment, you will see on the left a Terra collection here. You can click that, and now you can set up your host. For Terra to work, you run a small connector on-prem next to your Proxmox cluster. And then you can add multiple hosts and even multiple clusters. What that means is you don't need to have 1 Terra controller for every single cluster. You can use one for multiple. And then also you don't need to cluster your hosts to control them through one CloudFlex environment. Because sometimes you might not have the NICs or the interest in clustering your system across multiple nodes. In this case, this is the Proxmox instance I have over here. And then, like I mentioned, this is where I can set up my GPUs and NICs. So in this case, we have one GPU setup. That's an NVIDIA T1000. This works through PCIe forwarding. And one thing that we solve with this is in that use case where you have a small show. Let's say you have a small show, you need a GPU, 8 cores of CPU, and a bunch of RAM. That's your show number 1, and then you have another show that is much more CPU heavy, and you don't do any other workloads on the machine. You want to be able to move from a small instance with GPU to a large instance with GPU. And with this, we allow you that we attach and remove the GPU on boot and on stop. So when I boot this instance, it grabs it, gets attached to it, and then if you stop it, we release it back to the pool. We also support virtual functions. So if you have a data center grade GPU that allows you to split it out into multiple smaller GPUs, you can also use that. And for example, one of the demos we'll be showing at IBC is using the Connect X4 Mellanox cards virtual functions to do MXL across VMs. So you can have up to 8 hardware accelerated NICs that way. Appeal pools is your typical IPAM where you set your range and all that. Sizes is where you then can define how many CPU cores, how many sockets, how much memory. You can add a device pool. You could, for example, also say I want 5 GPUs on this instance and then have smaller ones as well. Then to bring that all together, you can group it together, say I put that on that LAN, use Ubuntu or Windows. These are the sizes allowed, and on this host. Images, this is where we have our Ubuntu and Windows images. We're still working on the deployment part of that. That's something that we're also looking to you as customers, like what is the story there? What would you like us to manage? What are things you would like to manage internally? With Proxmox, there's a lot more reliance on the on-prem engineering team to manage things because we don't offer that as a managed solution. So with AWS manages a lot of the imaging process for you. With Proxmox, you do need to create your own images. Even if you didn't create a VM with CLOUDflex TERRA, you can still import it. I only have ones that are already managed, but if you have an existing Proxmox instance or you created something in Proxmox that we can't do from CLOUDflex TERRA, you can import that into your existing environment. And quick deploy lets you create a couple more instances, so you can say, hey, I need 5 more vMix instances. Then you can deploy that here and it would deploy that for you. And to demo that, I am going to start this instance. Then as soon as that instance is up, we'll see it now here in Proxmox. It's up and running. And once again, one of the core principles is we know that engineers still like to touch the backend. So it's not like just because we work with your Proxmox, you can't go into Proxmox and click things and like do things. We built it in a way where you can still do that, but we give a simple UI for your internal customers. So now I have my vMix here. I can connect to it. DCV and Session Manager will also work on it. That's something that we're still working on. And now I'm here. I have a older, lame system I can run vMix on. I have my Windows server here. I can use NDI, all the things, but it's running on my own hardware. With our specials, I could now also attach a DEC link card to it and use PCIe pass-through. So like, for example, if you want to do your encoding nodes or contribution nodes that way, you can also do that. And then if I go back to CloudFlex and I say, you know what, actually, we're done with this vMix instance. We will now, in the background, release that GPU back. So if we go back here, we'll see that now we have this GPU pool 1 out of 1 free again. So now I could boot another instance that needs that GPU. That is CloudFlex TERRA. And one thing that I wanted to highlight, if you do have any questions for Jesse and I, we're happy to answer any questions that might come up. I know it's a lot that we're talking about, and then also if you are coming to IBC, we would love to talk to you at IBC. We'll have a booth there in Hall 7. We'll have great coffee and some great giveaways.
We have incredible giveaways that if you're there, don't miss it. We also came up with some creative eye catchers too. If you're there, you'll see what we're talking about. We invented a new video game just to catch people walking by called Bug Hunt. We're not going to show it here. You got to come to IBC to see it. But it's a fun booth. We hope to see a lot of you there. And it just, for my 2 cents, the thing that I talk to people about that helps simplify and explain what gives us the advantage over other tools like ours is simplification and taking the engineering maybe out of the hands of people who Your talent is probably creativity, production, talking to clients, winning jobs. If you're busy trying to figure out all the things that made us stumble in the early days when we were trying to scale up, bring more people on board, um, then you're not out selling, you're not creating, you're not connecting with clients. If you can trust that the tool that we've built, that's brought to you by the best practices of people like Jonas, Tucker, Mike Lang, and myself, from the little things like shared passwords, that was something we had to wrestle with, and I'll bet a lot of you had too in the beginning. I remember Tucker put out a great post a little while ago about shared passwords. We all had to do it in the beginning, but there was a lot of problems with it. We solved that too. Shared passwords are something you shouldn't do. There's a long list of those little things that add up to big problems if you don't follow best practices. Having a tool that brings, that brings those failures that were turned into successes. We broke it, so we knew how it needed to be fixed. We brought those to this tool. This tool is going to solve a lot of those things for you, and hopefully through a demo, through some test runs, you can learn to trust it and take that background engineering off of your shoulders so you can get out there and talk to customers about the shows and the creativity you want to bring. That's what we're trying to do, to empower creators to go out and win those jobs and not worry about, oh, did I leave the instance on? Oh, did I share that? Did I remember to share this sign on? We have solved so many things, even last second, giving you the power as a producer or a creator to say, the client calls, forgot that they have to spin up a bunch more instances than they realized, and they're asking you to help solve them something that's happening tomorrow. We've done that. I'll bet a lot of you have too. With a tool like CloudFlex, you can just say yes. You can just say yes. We can spin stuff up so incredibly quickly. That's honestly, that's how Tucker and I met. Then eventually Jonas, is we were given an opportunity last second from a client who oversold what they could do to a customer, and literally less than 2 days before their show started, their season, not just their show, their season started, they realized they couldn't do what they thought they could. They called us. We got a whole Mike Lang and I started talking to people. Tucker Dragu parachuted in and saved the day, and it was learning. And I know so many of you on this call have stories just like that. How many times have you done things like that? It can be hard, but then when you get through it and everybody's happy in the end, you learn a lot. And that's exactly some of the experience and some of the scars that we brought to this tool. So we hope that you guys give it a chance, can look at it, learn to trust it, and then go out there and do the creative side, do the connecting to the customers and win the shows that you should be winning. What is now a good time for Q&A, Jonas? What do you think?
I think one story I wanted to tell is Tuck and I, we did an event a couple of weeks ago. Might not have been a couple. Time is flying right now. And one of the things that often comes up is, yeah, sure, you can use NDI for small productions. This was a production with 94 live NDI sources. It was all running on CloudFlex in the cloud on our own AWS environment. And at some point we hit 32 gigabytes per second of traffic going into our multi-view instance for monitoring all those sources. And we all just kind of sat there and marveled for a second about the idea of that we have a 32 gigabyte USB stick and somehow we're chucking that around the network every second. So yes, it can also scale. Like CloudFlex can go from a single instance producing a webinar, a couple instances producing a larger webinar, something like this, to, I think at some point we had 200 instances in a single environment for doing some big distribution, and anything in between. And also, if you ever don't know what do I need, how much is it gonna cost, it's always something that we're happy to help with. Like send us an email and we can send you back a cost calculator link that is filled out, lets you play with the numbers so you don't need to sit through free sales calls and pre-commit to anything. There's also one thing that's really important to us is we try to keep the monthly pricing as low as possible, so that in a month where you don't have any gigs, it's not that much. Like if you have a couple instances, you'll be below $200 per month just for resting cost. And then when you do production, that's where we make our margin. That's where we are more profitable. But still, we make your life easier by giving you one simple price and not multiple prices and multiple matrices. And someone who had to do the estimation on AWS costs for the last 4 years for us, I now just look at our calculator myself because it is so much easier and it's a great resource for that as well. I did see we had a first question from YouTube. Let me pull that up. Had a question from YouTube from Simon. Can we update Companion ourselves? Well, yes and no. You can redeploy Companion yourselves to whatever version you would like, and then copy over your settings. Or you can just send a message to support@cloudflexbroadcast.com or whatever way you can reach me or any of our team, and we'll jump in and update it for you. We're still working on a way to let you update Companion yourself. But now you can at least deploy it to a specific version, and if you need it updated, that's what we're here for. Send us a support ticket. We'll get it updated as soon as possible.
Jonas, something else I think would be good for us to, I know a lot of the people here are well aware of this, but there might be some newcomers who aren't. It's the fact that I don't know that there are any other offerings out there, tools out there, who can say the words, bring your own tools. We don't care what brand it is. When we say we are vendor agnostic, we truly are. We don't want you to go have to buy new tools or learn ours. That's time and money. You might delete a whole chunk of your workforce if they don't know this tool, they don't know Viz, but they know vMix, so I guess they can't do this job. We never wanted to create a tool that did that. Our tool will accept anything that's cloud capable, and we think that the huge advantage that brings to our clients is you don't have to buy new boxes, new subscriptions. You don't have to retrain your workforce. Your workforce and your tools can be plugged right into this orchestration tool. If this thing is doing its job, it's somewhat invisible in the background. Once you get things started up, spun up, set up, and hit go, it's somewhat invisible. We want you to conduct business as usual. We think that's a big advantage, and it's something we've tried to stay ahead of. It's a frustration of ours from researching tools and solutions from the past, is they were always trying to steer you into their proprietary solutions. And not that they were bad solutions, it's just that, look, we're not just doing this for us. We have a large group of freelancers who are doing a large chunk of shows back then. We can't just keep changing desks and softwares on them. We need something to be more flexible and open. And that's why, that's one of the things I think bears repeating, is vendor agnostic really is it's a powerful thing to bring, and we want to keep reminding people about it as often as possible.
It also is like so much part of like, we changed our slogan kind of a little bit from vendor-agnostic, cloud live production, that with your tools, your workflow, your cloud, because we don't care what tools you bring. Is it Carbonite Code? Is it VisVector? Is it vMix? Is it OBS? Great. It works for you. We're not going to tell you you can't use it. You have a workflow that you know and love. You have a workflow that you trained your operators on. We're not going to tell you, no, you can't do that. If there is any way we can make it work, we'll make it work for you. And then now also with your cloud, it can be our cloud, it can be your AWS account, it can be a box that you bring on site, it can be your data center where you run a Proxmox cluster. For us, it doesn't matter. We want to give you the flexibility and actually give you the dynamic infrastructure that you need. and then just get out of your way when you are producing. So like a lot of the design and engineering decisions in CloudFlex are like, as soon as the production is done and started, we should not be in the way. We shouldn't be the ones like, if we have an outage, your whole system goes down. No, that won't happen. We have an outage, new people won't be able to join, but your existing people are still there. We always make sure that our blast radius doesn't affect you when you're live. Like, we're not gonna take you off air when you're live, which also allows us to manage all these different types of environments. And one really cool thing that is a little less known is, great, we have Proxmox as a compute provider now. So now you can bring your on-prem system, but what if you don't want to do virtualization on-prem? You can already use Flow Manager and feeds with your on-prem system. If you want to just have an MSO1, install our Flow engine on it, have it be controlled through CloudFlex, and then ship it wherever you want, great. You can do that right now, today. There is no restriction that you need to use Instance Manager to manage your instances for us, to be able to control your flows. I also saw one more question about multi-viewing. That's one thing that I think in the past was still a little complicated, where we had the Tractors NDI multi-view that you could easily deploy 3 minutes and you have a new multi-viewer. And then you have the Flow engine, which also added a bunch of licensing costs to your monthly fee. So every Flow engine adds roughly $150 of licensing fees, which if all you ever wanted is like one multi-view, isn't really what you're looking for most likely. One of the cool things that we'll be able to show at IBC is that Tractors NDI multi-view now also has WebRTC outputs directly, and you will be able to get those directly into your feeds and see them there natively as if they were coming from Flow Engine. So at that point, you just need to, it's $10 per month plus your NDI multi-viewer license, and you just run it in your environment, and now you get your feeds out from your multi-view directly. You don't need that piece of Flow engine in between anymore. That's one of the things that I personally am really excited, because we do want to not only serve the large environments where of course you need an NDI to WebRTC gateway and an SRT to NDI, but sometimes if all you're doing is 2 instances, you shouldn't need to build it up that big to also get WebRTC multi-views. So yeah, really excited to be showcasing that at IBC.
Speaking of IBC, I promised our new friends I wouldn't do this to them, so I won't. I'm not going to put anybody unexpected on camera, and I won't put our I won't put our esteemed technical director Tucker Dragu on camera. But we've talked a lot about technology, right? A lot about capabilities. We're pretty excited about that. Something I'm more excited about are the new people that have joined us. Maybe they'll say hi in the comments to you, or if you come to IBC, you can meet them in person. They will be there in Amsterdam. First off is Sarah Walker. Sarah Walker joined us dealing with client operations. You're going to start seeing her a lot in the communications, both at Discord, email, and everything else. Sarah comes to us from the world of broadcast. I've worked with Sarah periodically on and off over the years, and the company was growing. We needed help, and Sarah was one of our first folks we reached out to call, and she's been doing an amazing job. So please say hi to Sarah. In the comments, you may have seen the new hire notice on LinkedIn a little while back. Pretty happy to introduce Sarah. And then also Mr. John Benton. I know a lot of you know Mr. Benton from the Discord channels. He's pretty deeply invested in the cloud production, has a really cool backstory of his own, how he came to production, how he came from being first off an Olympic curler, then got into being an announcer on NBC and other channels, and then got really interested in the production because his main job was IT. And once he got to learn more and more about how television was made, he put his IT chops to use and joined in and learned so much so quickly. And now he's working with us. The other cool part is he was the second customer at CloudFlex. So we knew we must be doing something right if one of our original users also wanted to come and join us here on the team. So if you are in Amsterdam, please make time to say hello to John Benton and Sarah Walker, two of our new friends here over at CloudFlex, to join me, Tucker, Mike, and Jonas, the four co-founders. It's exciting to grow like that. It's exciting to give you know get get the resources and the tailwinds to be able to expand your company. And again, it goes to say thank you to a lot of you on here for giving us the ability to do that.
More question on YouTube from Andy. They say we typically have an audio engineer mixing X32 on the ground for remote live streams. Can you recommend an affordable cloud workflow they could easily migrate to and understand using your platform? And I
See,
think
we promised we wouldn't put Tucker on air, and we still won't do that to you, Tucker. But now you're talking audio. Now you're talking audio. Tucker's gritting his teeth like, Jonas, you better answer, but we'll wait and see if Tucker throws his hands up and throws himself out there.
And like the first thing I'll say is we are working on a bunch of audio integrations. So like here's SSL System T, and this is most likely quite a leak more than what you are asking for if you're mixing on an X32 right now. And a lot of the time what we see is that there is some form of a mix still being produced on ground, and then there is sweetening and the final mix being done in the cloud. You can do that in a lot of tools. Even if we don't have a deploy template for them today, you can use Llama Mix, you can use Harrison Mixbus, Waves MX, or SSL System T. That being said, most of the time we do find that cloud audio solutions tend to be a little more expensive, on the expensive side. That being said, if you already for remote productions have an on-prem X32, I wouldn't move from that. Like that's one of the things. You want low latency audio on the ground. You wouldn't want to add the round trip from going up to the cloud and back down to that. But that's one of the things where we can deploy you a VPN to connect to that, or recommend things like Mixing Station Anywhere that allows you to remote control that. We directly don't have like a mixer remote control solution at this point. But yeah, one thing you can do is use a CloudFlex Terra node and put SSL System T on it if that is something that you're interested in, and move your licensing around that way. But if you have an X32 embedded into your video feeds that go to your remote site, and then you can produce it in CloudFlex. We have, for example, with the Makito X4, we have a bunch of customers that embed the audio in there and then do the mixing in the cloud, but also have like return mixers on site. So yeah, and the other thing that Tucker is just bringing up is OnHertz Aristo is another tool that we've used a bunch in the cloud. I think if someone was asking me about the difference between like System T and OnHertz, for example, is like OnHertz is more like a sandbox that you can build your full audio workflow. If you haven't seen it, it's worth having a look at IBC or going to the website. You basically have nodes and connect them and build your own interfaces and workflows, versus like having an existing solution. Yeah, and I think with that, we'll be wrapping up our webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. LinkedIn, Discord, over email, info@cloudflexbroadcast.com, and Sarah will make sure it goes to the right person, or come by at IBC. We'll have cool mouse pads and some more swag, and yeah, we'll be excited to be showing it all to you there. And if you can't make it to IBC, don't worry, we'll still be doing demos all day long remotely. So send us an email and we'll be happy to schedule a demo and get you into the cloud.